Andy Roddick competing for the Empire tonight as the marquee player. I'll also be playing tomorrow night. And looking forward to questions.
Right.
Andy, 10 years ago, I don't know if you could believe it yet, but it was Andre's last tournament, and that was probably sentimental to you a little bit. You played back to the next round. What are your memories from that tournament besides the final?
Yeah, of Andre's last tournament. Specifically as it pertains to it being Andre's last tournament. It was weird for me because for a couple of reasons. If we had both won our third round matches, we would have played fourth round, which is a match I didn't want to be a part of for a lot of reasons. You know, he was a big mentor to me, and kind of walking that line between, okay, I'm in good form and I can make a run here, and kind of finishing off one of your idols, an icon in the game. I didn't want that emotional tug of war, but at the same time, I didn't want Andre to lose to Becker that he did. And I remember him coming in after that match and it being very emotional in the locker room, kind of all standing up and crowding around him and giving him a applause and an ovation. And you know, you want to be a part of that, but then you're still trying to focus. I was on the next match on Stadium, so I was conflicted in a lot of emotions, but I certainly kind of had a very close view of the entire thing. And I think the biggest thing was kind of everyone in that locker room got the gravity of what was happening. And you know, I think the ultimate respect is from the guys inside the locker room and your peers, and kind of them all laying back and realizing a special moment. That was cool to me.
So when you beat Becker the next round, did your mind wander at all to thinking about Andre?
No. I mean, honestly, it was much easier match, not even just from a tennis standpoint, but once I was a little bit relieved when Becker beat Andre. Selfishly, purely from a my tournament 06 U.S. Open perspective, it became a lot easier mentally and emotionally once Becker went out. But I didn't really think about it much once Andre was gone and when I was in the match with Becker.
Andre, what is it to play at this stadium and all the history about the U.S. Open? What is it for you?
Yeah, you know, I'm a big tennis historian, huge sports fan. You know, so in the last month, I've had two kind of bucket list things in tennis. I don't have a lot of firsts left as far as playing certain places and seeing certain things, but I got to play at Newport at the Hall of Fame, the Tennis Hall of Fame, for the first time last month, and then to kind of play here a month later is a big deal to me. I know the last time they played here was 1977. You know, you kind of think the people that paved the way for that gigantic stadium not too far from here, the foundation was laid at this place, so it's certainly fun to see, fun to be a part of, and at least I can say I played there once.
Aside from the history of this league, what is it about the league itself and the makeup, the team aspect of it that's appealing to you as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got the most benefit out of it, and I saw kind of that team dynamic when I was a young player coming up, when I was 17, before I even had a ranking of any sort. Billie Jean kind of gave me a shot with a team that was in Idaho at the time, and for me to be able to play at that time, I think it was 13 matches in 3 weeks against pro players, and to win most of them, that gave me huge confidence. And then going into that summer, I played well, beat a couple top 40 guys, and played well on the main tour. But I think that was a huge stepping stone for me. So, you know, I'll kind of forever sing the praises of this league because it did make such an impact on me when I was younger. And you talk about the team aspect, being able to kind of playing the tennis against the pros is one thing, but being, you know, in van on buses, picking the brains of people who are actually on tour and older, you know, at that point, you know, 26, 27 was a decade older than I was at that point. So to kind of have, you know, a first row seat to be able to ask questions and see how they went about it was invaluable to me.
Golf has had a Champions Tour for older players. It's certainly not that old. Is tennis doing what it should for recently retired players who just want to be occasionally competitive and feel the cheers of the crowd and hear the cheers of the crowd?
Yeah, we can't make the court shorter. I play a lot on the Power Share series as well as World TeamTennis. The toughest thing, it's tough to draw parallels with golf just based on the physicality of tennis. You know, I think in golf, less is more sometimes as far as the dynamics of a golf swing, and you know, if you can putt, you can play. Tennis, it gets pretty physical, you know. So you see my friend Marty Fish played in this last week, and you know, knock on wood, he started off great. He was up, winning his singles match against a guy ranked 40, but then popped something in his foot, and Andre went down earlier this year, and so I think it's probably a bigger physical ask. That being said, there probably is a happy medium. How you want to define it and what could be done is would probably take a little bit longer than we have for this conversation.
Okay, question. We know about your foundation and what it does, but how did you get started? What made you do that and all your other charitable activities?
Well, it's twofold. One was Andre was a pretty significant person in that. But I do want to give credit to kind of the history of the people we've had in tennis. This is Billie Jean's league, but you see the biggest people in your games, whether it's Billie Jean or Arthur Ashe, what Andre's done to the charter school landscape in Vegas, what Roger's doing for UNICEF. It's giving back is kind of in the fabric of tennis, and the best people of all time and the best players of all time have done it and have done their fair share. So, if you're around a brother who does something, my brother played tennis and I gravitated towards it. If you're around enough of the icons and they're doing, important things outside of tennis, you probably gravitate towards it. So, I'm probably a bit of a product of kind of the culture that was created by the legends of the game.
I know you get this question asked all the time, but since the U.S. Open is due a couple of weeks away, you think I'll live long enough to see an American champion again? I don't quite beat Djokovic, but I wonder if that's a fluke that'll tell his grandchildren about it.
Well, I think someone's allowed to have a great result without it being called a fluke. It doesn't happen by accident. But I will say, if you want to equate our young tennis prospects to a farm system in baseball, I think it's as good as it's looked in 15 or 20 years. Maybe since myself, Marty, and Ginepri, and James, and three of us landed in the top 10, and had kind of varying levels of success. So I'd say the farm system in U.S. tennis has me as excited, where I don't feel like I'm selling you dirt in a sandbox by talking about it. I think we have really strong young prospects, and the more important thing is I think there's more than just a couple. I think there's 7 or 8 deep, which is good. It'll create a healthy jealousy. One has a good week. The guy goes, "Wait a minute, I just beat that guy last week." And that's in the history of U.S. tennis, whether it's Bollettieri's from the '80s, and we had a small group in the 2000s, but it's kind of competitiveness and a healthy jealousy, I think, always wins. So I'm actually excited about what it's going to look like in 5 years.
We have a local guy, Noah Rubin. Have you seen him? Are you impressed with his game?
I've seen him a little bit, yeah. I know he went to school for a year, and I think he wants it. And by all means, I haven't seen him play enough to give you an answer that deserves your time. From everything I've heard, I think he's very diligent and professional about the way he goes about it and competes well. So that's it's a significant part of the battle. I haven't seen it yet, no, and I wasn't there last year, so I'm curious to see it.
2 more questions. Playing all these years in the hot weather over there,
My answer, again, it's how you want to go about it. If I was in charge of the U.S. Open, I would have built a roof. As a player, I like the elements. The wind. It used to be the windiest court on earth, and the flag at the top of the stadium would always blow opposite of the way the wind was blowing when it got down to court level. So if no one had ever played out there before and you were playing him, it was worth a break early on. So little things like that I like, and I thought were a part of the fabric of the tournament. I also understand the dynamic of business and sports, and you need live content when you've paid for live content. So they have to have something on the television. So the U.S. Open will be better for having the roof.
Robert?
I'm sorry, sir. Did you guys that?
This tournament
About
has
the
different events.
World
What do you think
TeamTennis.
about that?
The different rules. I think it's great. I think it's, I think it's good. I think the players can be a little bit more interactive. I think it's kind of in your face for 2+ hours of entertainment. Tennis as broadcast on normal TV, sometimes it gets pretty long if you want to dial in and watch a couple matches in a day. This is a little bit more in your face, and I think it's nice to have different options with viewing in tennis, and I think you get a little bit more up close and personal here. There's probably some more access in a league like World TeamTennis, which is great. So it's I've always enjoyed it.
Andy, the Olympics going on right now. When you played, was that something that positively or negatively affected your game stopping for the Olympics?
as far as your level of tennis and logistics, it's difficult. I think, and I'm going to be selfish and be able to say it doesn't fit into the context of a tennis year and say I'm also very honored and very proud to have been an Olympian. You can have it both ways, and it's not a matter of convenience, but I think the athletes can make the decisions for themselves. They're adults. I don't think there's a right answer for everybody. It's just a matter of what you hold, as a priority. I think some guys have done well doing it all, and some guys do better when they kind of compartmentalize and are able to focus on different segments of schedule. So it's tough in a calendar that is without the Olympics. It's tough to find enough weeks in the year for all the events, and so when you add a huge event like that on that far away, it's hard.
Last one right here.
You've had a year or so in the bag for Fox Sports Live and Fox Sports 1. If you had the opportunity to go back into television and do whatever it is, a commentary, a little comedy, would you give that a shot again?
Oh, comedy. Yeah, stand-up routine. You never say never. I loved what the opportunity that I was afforded at Fox. I mean, I got on-the-job training from live television. Breaking news, sports that I didn't play, podcasts, live radio, fill-in. So I don't know that I would have had a better training ground to be a broadcaster than at Fox with all those different things, doing one-on-one sit-down interviews also, and they were pretty good about just throwing me into the fire. And something I'd never done before. They go, okay, well, you'll figure it out. And sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't. But I'm happy for the experience. I don't know what the future holds as far as broadcasting for me. Nothing on the immediate horizon, but I certainly enjoyed it.
Who's your favorite impression?
Thank you.
My favorite impression?
You do plenty of them.
The guy who leaves.
Andy and all the other players will be available after the match.